So, who's the top 10 of 1997 in the WWF, WCW, and ECW? At number 10, Conan. Conan had a stellar year this year in WCW, but it really took off after he left the Dungeon of Doom and joined the NWO. His highlights include defeating his former partner Hugh Morris, beating Rey Mysterio Jr. in a Mexican death match, and he main evented and was on the winning team at Fall Brawl during the War Games. This is Conan's second appearance in the top 10. He dropped 2 spots from last year. At number 9, Eddie Guerrero. Much like Conan, he started off the year, very popular. He's a fan favorite, and he was one of the few WCW wrestlers to pick up a win at the NWO pay-per-view Sold Out when he defended his U.S. title against Syxx in a ladder match. And just like Conan, once he kind of changed his attitude, it really kind of helped launch his career even higher. He'd go and defeat Chris Jericho for the Cruiserweight title. From there, he had an epic series of matches with Rey Mysterio Jr., where they would trade the belt back and forth. He competed in the World War III Battle Royal and would close out the year with a successful title defense against Dean Malenko at Starrcade. At number 8, Taz. Taz had an incredible breakout year this year, and he was undefeated on pay-per-view. At Barely Legal, he had an epic clash with Sabu. He would later go on to pick up the TV title and pick up some wins over Chris Candido and Pitbull number 2. At number 7, Lex Luger. In the war between WCW and NWO, one of the main soldiers fighting for wrestling's honor was Lex Luger. Here's a list of his accomplishments from this year. He won the tag titles with the Giant against the Outsiders. With DDP, he helped defeat Scott Hall and Macho Man in a no DQ tag match. At the main event at Bash at the Beach, he teamed up with Giant to take out Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman. Then he'd win a Fatal 4-Way to gain a world title shot and then go on to win the world title. So not a bad year for Lex Luger at all. This is Lex Luger's 5th appearance in the top 10, and this is his first since 1995. At number 6, the franchise, Shane Douglas. Oh man, if there was ever a need for a transformation, it was Shane Douglas. I mean, he went from being like a bland babyface to a dynamic dude to the Dean of Wrestling. But this year, we saw a more aggressive Shane Douglas. We saw a main eventer. We saw a champion. Like Taz, Shane was also undefeated on pay-per-view. He won the TV title, and he would defeat Pitbull number 2 at Barely Legal. Then at Hardcore Heaven, he would headline the card by defeating Sabu and Terry Funk in a 3-way dance to win the world title. And then at November to Remember, he would regain that title by defeating Bam Bam Bigelow in the main event. This is Shane's second appearance in the top 10, with his last being back in 1992. At number 5, Scott, the Steiner brothers. Man, they had a dominant year this year. They would kick off the year by beating the Outsiders for the tag titles. However, due to a technicality, the titles were stripped and returned back to Hall & Nash. The rest of the year was spent reclimbing the ranks. They had to go through Conan and Hugh Morris, Masachono and the Great Muta, Harlem Heat, and then finally back at the Outsiders to regain their gold. And along the way, they picked up Ted DiBiase as a manager, because no one knows more about the NWO than their former money guy. This is Scott Steiner's 4th appearance in the top 10, and his first since 1993. At number 4, Triple H. 97 was a huge year for Hunter Hearst Helmsley. He started the year off as the Intercontinental Champion and was feuding with Goldust, beating him in both of their pay-per-view encounters. Later, he would acquire the bodyguard China, and from there he would win the King's. He would year that. Let me restart that. Then he would go on to win the King of the Ring, defeating both Ahmed Johnson and Mankind in the same night. This would lead to an epic feud with Mankind, and I guess technically Dude Love, that would lead to the awesome cage match at SummerSlam. It was around this time that he started to develop more of a cocky attitude, changed his name to Triple H. Him and Shawn Michaels would join forces and form D-Generation X. At the end of the year, he would defeat Commissioner Slaughter in a boot camp match at D-Generation X in your house. At number 3, Rick. Rick Steiner. Everything I said about Scott Steiner applies to Rick Steiner. This is Rick Steiner's 5th appearance in the top 10. And yeah, his first since 1993. At number 2, Stone Cold Steve Austin. This was his hottest year to date. He was the biggest wrestler in the world, bar none. Seriously, he kicked in the door of professional wrestling and just ran amok. He started the year off by winning the Royal Rumble and had a huge monster feud with Bret Hart. That feud would eventually extend to the rest of the Hart Foundation. This guy would headline 5 different pay-per-views during this period. He captured the IC title from Owen Hart at SummerSlam. However, he did suffer a broken neck during that match, and it put him out of action for the next few months. But once Survivor Series rolled around, he was back and he defeated Owen for a second time to capture the IC title again. This is Stone Cold's 3rd appearance in the top 10, and he's up 8 spots from last year. And number 1, Bret Hart. You know, despite the controversial finish of his year, this was easily Bret Hart's best year of his career. He won the Final 4 match against Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and Vader to win the world title. He would go on to have, easily, if not the best WrestleMania match ever. I'll say arguably the best WrestleMania match ever when he defeated Stone Cold Steve Austin in the submission match at WrestleMania 13. Of course, him and Austin, their feud would just kind of mutate into an all-out war between the U.S. and Canada, but Hart was leading the charge the entire way. The Hart Foundation would defeat Austin, the Road Warriors, Ken Shamrock, and Goldust at Canadian Stampede. And then he would go on to beat Undertaker at SummerSlam to win his 5th world title. Had a couple matches against the Patriot, including a flag match, until he would drop the title to Shawn Michaels and exit the company. This is Hart's 3rd appearance in the top 10 and his first since 1995. Congratulations, everybody. That is your top 10 of 1997.